So a couple weeks ago, my team and I got a chance to travel to San Francisco to do a video job, which this was our first time traveling in pretty much what feels like forever. But while traveling, there was a lot of little tips and tricks that I had to remember in order to make sure that my team and I were traveling the most financially efficient way, but also in a way that allowed us to be successful on our entire trip. So in this video, I want to break down a couple of those tips for creators who are going to be going out there and traveling. And trust me, the first tip alone will help save you hundreds of dollars. Now, the entire first tip is all about getting your hands on what's called a media pass. Now, no matter which airline you're flying with, you're going to be able to gain access to what is called a media pass. Now, the process of actually getting a media pass is fairly easy, but it's what it does for you that's the big kicker. When it comes to getting a media pass, first of all, you actually designed this yourself. I actually designed ours. So all I did was go into Photoshop and basically create a media pass. From there, I took it over to my local Kinko's, got it laminated, punched a hole in it, threw a lanyard around it, and then I was ready to go and fly. But what is the purpose of a media pass? Well, whenever you are flying, typically, most airlines are going to have some type of weight limit when it comes to your baggage. So most airlines, like with us, we did American, but this has worked with United. This has also worked with JetBlue and quite a few others. The big thing here is that they all have 50-pound weight limits. And if you choose to exceed the 50-pound weight limit, your bag can cost you up to $200, which is kind of ridiculous. But the problem is, as filmmakers, most of our gear is fairly heavy. So how do you get around this? The media pass. If you have a media pass, this will allow you to take gear up to 100 pounds. And with that, you only pay a $50 fee. So this means you can check heavier bags without paying those crazy baggage fees. Now, how do you actually go about getting the media pass and getting it all approved? Well, as I mentioned before, you actually have to create the media pass first. From there, if you just do a quick Google search for whatever airline media pass, there is an email that you just have to send off to them to let them know that you're actually showing up with this media pass. Once you send them off this email and let them know that you are a professional production company, they're going to ask you some basic questions like the name of your company, your website, what you're going to do, who are you shooting for, basic things like that. And then from there, you are able to then get this media pass. Now, for us, this was huge because this is going to lead into step number 2, but this allowed us to bring way more gear, but we did it in a very smart way. Tip number 2 is to consolidate all your gear into as few number of bags as possible. Instead of bringing tons of different bags for all your different gear, get one big bag and shove as much of it into it as possible, because since you are using a media pass, you get all of this for the price of one bag. For example, in one of our bags, we actually had a tripod, all of our diffusion, and a bunch of other additional accessories. In another bag, we actually carried 2 RGB light panels. So instead of carrying just those 2 in their own individual cases, we carried those 2 in the same case, and then we actually added in a 300D Mark II into that same case as well. Again, because we had our media passes and we knew we could carry up to 100 pounds per bag, instead of bringing all of these individual small bags, we tried to get as much gear into every individual bag as possible to keep it almost to that point of 100 pounds without fully exceeding it. All right, let's pause the video for just a second to thank today's video sponsor, Soundstripe. Now, Soundstripe is an online platform dedicated to helping you find the best music for your videos. They also don't just have music. You can also find stock video as well as sound effects on the platform. The nice thing about Soundstripe is your music is royalty free, and for one monthly subscription, you can get unlimited downloads with an unlimited license. The nice part is it doesn't matter if you're creating videos for clients or you're just creating your own videos for YouTube, the license works across the board. And to just sweeten the pot just a little bit more, if you've never tried Soundstripe, Soundstripe is actually giving a 15% off to all of the viewers of this channel. Just be sure to use my link down below in the description and use coupon code BWASH and you will get 15% off. But thank you, Soundstripe, for sponsoring this video. Let's get back to it so I can teach you how you can make sure you actually never lose any of your gear while traveling. All right, let's play. Okay, so another tip that I have is whenever I'm flying and I have to check gear, I love to take an air tag and drop it into that gear, especially when I have connecting flights. This makes sure that I know that all my gear made it onto each flight with me. Now, obviously, yes, we could have checked everything, but I personally didn't want to. There are certain types of gear that I just personally don't think is smart to check. For example, one of the biggest ones for me is obviously my cameras. I like to carry all of my cameras on, and for this, I carry them on with the Pelican Air case. Now, for me, I like this case for a couple reasons. One, it's very small, lightweight, but it's big enough to carry all of my most important gear. Number two, it is able to be brought onto a plane and it can fit on any airline. So even if you're on one of those small little two-seater type airlines, you can still put this in the overhead compartment. And if they try to tell you you can't, tell them, trust me, I've done this a million times, it will fit. The other thing that I strongly recommend carrying on, and this is because legally you have to, and that is all of your lithium ion batteries. So any of your V-mount batteries, you have to actually carry these on. Now, this is where that Pelican case really comes in handy. If you are getting ready to get on an airline and you have your camera in this Pelican case, it's full with V-mount batteries as well, they are almost always going to just let you carry it on because they understand that you are not allowed to check those batteries. Another big benefit with this Pelican case, which kind of leads us into tip number 3, put as much of your gear on wheels as possible. We actually got all of our bags to be on wheels. For example, with one of our bags, we have this nice long think tank bag, and one of the most important things for me with this bag was, one, it was actually big enough to carry all of our C-stands, but two, it still needed to be able to be on wheels, which, by the way, I'll have links down below to all the products that I'm talking about in the description. We even made sure that even our Timba bag, which carries our Aperture Nova 600, our light panel, our Aperture 300D, and tons of other cables, this is even on wheels. Having all of your gear on wheels is 100% the way to go. It is going to save your back. It's going to keep you from having to bring carts and dollies and every other thing that you could possibly need in order to move all of this equipment around. But one of the biggest things is that if it is your production company and you are hiring people to come out and help you, you are going to want your equipment to be on wheels because then it's less likely that someone will drop something because it's too heavy. You're always going to have your gear nice and safe. So a new tip that I actually discovered on this trip was rent a minivan. This thing can hold all the gear and it's super smooth. I don't think I'll ever actually buy one myself, but renting it for jobs like this, especially when traveling, A1. I know some of you guys might be watching this video to pick up some of these tips, but maybe you don't even actually have a traveling job, or maybe you're even considering looking for jobs that will allow you to travel. I wanted to give you guys a bonus tip that's not really about how to necessarily travel, but it's also like more about how to get jobs that will give you the ability to travel. So one of the ways that I personally was able to travel when I was first starting off in this whole filmmaking journey, this is before I had kids and I was just kind of wanting to see the world a little bit, was I would be able to set up jobs in places I planned on going. So hear me out. Let's say, for example, you're like me and you live in Houston, but you want to go to Los Angeles, for example, to do a job. Well, one thing that I would do was when I knew I was planning to go to Los Angeles, I would start looking for businesses that are in the same markets that I already take care of and, shoot for here in Houston. I would look for companies that were in the same market there in Los Angeles. The reason being was, one, it'd be very easy for me to showcase work that would go hand in hand with what they're looking for. But what I would also do is I would let them know that I was coming into town for a short period of time and I had a special offer on a video service for their company. A lot of times just having a limited offer by being, limited to whether that's how long you're going to be there, or they have a limited amount of time to accept it, or they're getting a good deal because of the limitations, this will typically push people to want to act on your offer. By booking a couple different jobs in Los Angeles, for example, before you actually going to get out there, what this will do is not only will it pay for your time while you're there, can also make some extra money while you're down there, get some amazing content, and now you can set yourself up to sort of do the exact same thing in the next city you want to go visit. This was a way that I personally went on a lot of different vacations, was I would just know where I wanted to go on vacation, reach out to a couple people there, and typically it was only about maybe 2 or 3 jobs that I needed to actually use in order to justify and obviously financially afford the trip. So do those 2 or 3 jobs while you're down there, and then use that money in order to pay for the rest of your vacation while you're in the city. But there you have it, guys. Those are my tips when it comes to traveling. If you guys have any additional travel hacks or suggestions, definitely leave those down in the comments so we can start a nice little place where anybody who comes back and check out this video can go down into the comment section and maybe learn some other things. Because trust me, there's always things to learn, and I'm probably even going to hop down there in those comments and try to pick you guys' brain for other things that I could do better on my next trip. But until next time, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace. You got the camera rolling? All right, here's another tip. Be the guy who shoots behind the scenes, because that guy never loads the car. He films while everybody else does it.
It's true. It's true.